This is how you grow your knowledge. You can't grow your knowledge by starting from grammar, starting from words. You can't even start from words, because if you don't start from components and characters and build up to words, you're just going to look at words and be like, oh, there's about 12 things I don't know about this word, because there's pinyin, there's tones, there's character components. And if you don't know any of those about the two characters, man, do you have to deconstruct it first and then build it back up. That's way inefficient. So you build up and you build up and you build up. But by the end of the Mandarin Blueprint Method level 36, you'll know 80% of Chinese, and you can read full stories. And this can be done in 2 to 3 months, depending on how many hours a day you're spending on it. It takes about 250 hours. So, you spend 8 hours a day on it, you get it done in a month. So anyway, the idea here is that as you go through these, you're going to expand your knowledge out into larger grammar. And today, after we finish recording the podcast, I'm going to upload all of the audio for each one of these phase 4 and 5 paragraphs and stories, and not just one audio file. It'll actually be usually 4, sometimes 2. And it's got male and female voice, so that a voice that will more closely match your particular pitch range, but also an 80% speed version and a native speed version. And the reason why we picked 80% is twofold. One, obviously you're just starting, so you need to move into listening and reading and then shadowing, which I'll get into in a second, at a speed that is more comprehensible. But secondly, because 80% speed is about as slow as you can go without a Chinese person finding it to be too slow when you're talking to them. So if you can imagine that I talked, you're already getting annoyed that I'm talking so slowly, right? But suppose I were to talk at about 80% of my normal speed. This is a little bit slow, but it doesn't bother you that it's this slow, nor would it bother a Chinese person if you're speaking at about this speed. And it also gives you more time to think. So if you have an 80% speed, it's good enough for Chinese people to not be annoyed by it. It gives you time to think. Your pronunciation will almost definitely be more accurate, and then you can build into native speed. And we put the native speed there as kind of a challenge, just sort of like keep it there, download it, save it for later, and then you're going to be ready to do that, probably a little bit further into the course, but you'll definitely have it there as the challenge in your back pocket. Now, I mentioned shadowing. So this is what you should do with these recordings. And this is actually, it's more than just what you should do. We're challenging you to do it and to send us recordings of you doing it. So here's what you do. I've left a link in the show notes of Luke explaining shadowing in greater detail. But the basics of shadowing is that you listen to a recording and you have the sentence or the text in front of you. And so you listen and you understand it. You have to make sure you understand it first. That's step 1. Secondly, you listen and then you repeat after each sentence. And luckily, the way we have it set up is that those sentences are in your Anki decks. So that step of listening and repeating individual sentences, that can happen in Anki, and it will naturally happen as you build up. And so whenever you see a sentence that's either marked in Anki or has an asterisk, for sure, replay the audio, which if you're on your desktop version of Anki, hit the R key. And if you're on the phone version of Anki, there's a little play button to replay the audio. So like listen, repeat, listen, repeat. And then finally, you press play and you say it at the exact same time as the native speaker and try to mimic them precisely. Try to be as precise as you can. And so by doing that, you're building up your ability to flow in a sentence, because pronunciation on the level of the character or the word is somewhat formulaic. You can kind of get it exactly right, but the sentence level, there's so much variation based on the emotional context that it is a fool's errand to try to academically analyze how you should change your tones and change the flow of the sentence. It's a much better thing to just do it. Just go listen to native audio and mimic it precisely. So you do that on the sentence first, and then when you have a paragraph unlocked, you read the paragraph. You've already seen all the sentences in the paragraph through Anki, which is, part of the thing that makes this system so sticking to what you know, but you've already seen them, and now you're going to put them together. So you understand the whole paragraph. You go, cool, I get the beginning, middle, and end of this paragraph. You listen, repeat, and then listen, speak, and read at the same time. That's effectively what shadowing is. Listening, speaking, and reading at the same time. So of the 4 things you need to do in Chinese, which is listening, reading, speaking, and writing, you're doing 3 of them. So it's very efficient. It's also very brain intensive, but hence why we want you to do it sentence by sentence first in your Anki cards, and then do it paragraph by paragraph. And then when you get to phase 5, you'll add that extra layer, which is a full story. And so here's our challenge to you. As you build it up, when you reach either a phase 4 paragraph or a phase 5 paragraph in a story, or even better, a phase 5 full story, shadow it to the point where you're so confident that you can say it right that you make a video recording of you speaking, reading out loud the story, and we will critique your pronunciation. And also, we think this is a great way for people to understand just how quickly you can get to a point of being able to read and speak out loud a Mandarin story in just a few months with the Mandarin Blueprint Method.